Recording in progress.
So good evening, everybody. I'm starting this lecture, seventh lecture. So the other day we were talking about phylum Mollusca. Today we are going to discuss about the phylum Echinodermata, which is the last phylum in the in invertebrates. So this phylum, the members are exclusively marine. As you can see, this starfish comes under this phylum. They are exclusively marine. Now, they don't find in fresh water or they don't find on the land. That is, their body can be divided into equal halves through 5 radii. So this is called a pentaradial symmetry, or the body can be divided into 2 equal halves through 5 radii, right? And body covered by delicate epidermis, often with spines. Body covered with epidermis, it has spines, often spines, thorns or katu, right? So that is how the name of the phylum has come. Dermata is the skin. So I told you the skin specialists are called dermatologists. So echino means these spines. So echinodermata means they have spines in the epidermis. So echinodermata, right? So body covered by delicate epidermis, often with spines. And there's an endoskeleton. They have endoskeleton, that means below the skin or the epidermis, you can find calcareous spicules come together and form the endoskeleton. Segmentation and cephalization secondarily disappeared. Now in these animals, you can't see a head. Cephalization or the head formation, it has secondarily disappeared now. In the evolution, it has secondarily disappeared and no heads for these animals. So the cephalization is not there. And also body is not divided into segments here. That has also been disappeared secondarily. So that we call segmentation and cephalization secondarily disappeared. Coelom, they have a large coelom. A part has developed as a water vascular system. They live in water, marine water they live, and they have developed a water vascular system. It is a part of the coelom, and this system has tube feet. Tube feet, we call in singular nalapada, right? So I will come to those things, and they don't have blood circulatory system. They don't have a blood circulatory system. So if we look at a starfish, right? Now this is the upper surface, so the anus is there, so we call the surface aboral surface. So that here we call the mouth is the below. In the below, you can see the mouth here. That surface is the oral surface, and the upper surface here, the opposite surface is the aboral surface, where you find the anus. So it is a simple tube from down to up. So that is the mouth you can see here. So you can see the anus, and they are from their midgut, the middle of the gut, 5 branches are going to 5 radii, 5 arms. So they have 5 arms, right? So to 5 arms, 5 branches are going. So digestive glands are there. Don't worry about these things. This is the stomach and 5 branches are going. The most special feature I want to tell you is about the water vascular system. This is that water vascular system, this ash color thing, right? So water can come into the body through a madroporite. Madroporite is a sieved plate. We think that we take belek piyanak අරගෙන යකඩන ගහලා හීල් කරොත් එහෙම you get a siduru sahita plate. So a plate with holes, small holes. So it is called madroporite. through which the seawater can come in, and the seawater can go out. Now, by pressurizing this water, they can make water pressure, different water pressure inside the body. Okay, we will see what happens when water comes through the madreporite. It goes to a system, a tubular system. That system is called water vascular system. Now here the water comes through the madreporite through a tube, and it goes to a tube, circular tube, right? It is going to a circular tube. It is called ring canal, central ring canal. So it's a ring-like thing around the stomach. And from this ring, there are branches going to each arm. So these are called radial canal. Through each radius of the arm, a branch is going. So water comes through the madreporite and go to a ring canal and then go to radial canals. These radial canals have a very special structure. They are called tube feet attached to the radial canal. Inside the tube feet, you get the cavity, and by putting high water pressure into this cavity, they can blow up this and make pressure, and this end of these tube feet act as suckers. So if you look at the other surface, this is the upper surface, so the aboral surface, oral surface, these tube feet are coming out in the starfish. So these act as suckers. So this is just simply remember that there is a water vascular system, and this water vascular system ends up blindly. These are blind ends. So blindly, and they are finally divided at the terminal ends. They form balloons-like structures. These balloons can be by changing the pressure. They can blow up and they can contract, right? So these are tube feet, and they come out in starfish in the oral surface. You can see next diagram. I have given you two diagrams. This is the aboral, or this is the oral surface. Now you could not see the oral surface here because it is underneath. Now this is the oral surface. The mouth is there, so that they keep the mouth on the ground and eat things, right? And these are the tube feet coming out from the water vascular system. But they are blind. Their water is not coming out. Water is inside the system. This water vascular system opens only at this madreporite. So water can come in. They can close it or stop the water coming, or they can close it and increase the pressure here and blow out, or these balloons can be formed, and these are tube feet. And these tube feet have, at the end, they have suckers like thing. They are coming out of the body. Why I am telling this so much is this is a specialized structure found only in echinoderms. These tube feet are very important because they can act as suckers. These balloons are coming out, and their end, you can see sucker-like structures. They can attach to the substratum very firmly, or they can attach to a prey very firmly, and until they finish eating. For example, here you can see it has it is keeping a bivalve very tightly until it feeds on that, right? So that so these tube feet are very important for locomotion and attaching to the prey, keeping the prey, holding the prey. Now this is our aboral surface. You find the anus and also that madreporite, which is the opening of the water vascular system, and this is called the central disc. And you can see 5 arms are going in the 5 directions. This is the upper surface, or the aboral, and this is the lower below the surface, that is the oral surface. Why you call it oral? Because the mouth is there, and you get these. There are 5 grooves here, right? These are called ambulacral grooves. To these grooves, these tube feet are opening. So these are called, well, in singular we call these ellie, charanara ellie. Ellie mean the canals like open grooves. In some animals, in echinoderms, these are open. In some, these are closed. These are called ambulacral grooves, and the tube feet open into these grooves, right? So these ambulacral grooves are there. It is in the oral surface, not on the aboral surface. So that's all I want to explain about the structure. Because this I explain because it is very important for their life as a very special feature, these tube feet, right? Okay. Now let us look at what are the sort of animals we can find in this phylum Echinodermata, right? Okay. Class Asteroidea. There are five classes, and I will brief them briefly. Asteroidea mean aster means star, right? Aster in Greek mean star. Starfishes, asteroidea, all the starfishes come. Arms are not distinctly separated from the central disk. Okay, this is the central disk. These are the arms. They are not distinctly separated. They are not distinctly separated because when you come to the next group, they are distinctly separated. Here you can see this is the next group where the arms are distinctly separated from the central disk. But in starfish, it's not distinctly separated from the central disk. Open ambulacral grooves. I told you in the oral surface you find uh, open ambulacral grooves. And tube feet with suckers, you find tube feet with suckers like this, tube feet with suckers, right? This is the open ambulacral grooves, right? Uh, this diagram is not very important, but just to show you that from one arm, even from one arm with the center, this thing, if you break it, one arm with a portion of the central disc, it can grow the other four arms and become another animal. So this is a very high power of regeneration you find in starfish. If you break a starfish arm with the central disc, part of the central disc, it can grow the other four arms. Okay. Now this is the class Asteroidea. This in this class you find starfishes, and the next class is Ophiuroidea. Ophiuroidea you find brittle stars. These are called brittle stars. What are their characters? Arms are distinctly separated from the central disc. You can see these creatures in the seashore sometimes. I have seen in the Hikkadu area, seashore, these animals, right, in shallow water, on the rocks and on the substratum, right? You can see, right? The arms distinctly separated from the central disc, jointed arms. Here the arms are jointed, uh, jointed calcareous plates are there inside. Separate calcareous plates which are jointed to each other through muscles so that they can move these separately, so that they can move these arms around, whereas starfish cannot make movements. Here they can make movements like worms. These can, they can, here they can move around like worms. Starfish can't do it. These ophiuroids can do it because they have these separate discs in the arms. So jointed arms. Here the ambulacral grooves are closed. Tube feet are there, but no suckers. They can't attach using tube feet. Right. These are brittle stars. Uh, Ophiu mean actually in Latin, Ophiu means snakes. So the arms go around like snakes. That is why this name they have kept for this class, Ophiuroidea. Right? So these are brittle stars. Okay. The next group is, I will show how this happened. From the starfish, this has come. This is the sea urchin. Sea urchin has been formed from the structure of starfish like this. Starfish, if you raise the arms upwards, all five arms get closed and close at the top end. If you bend the arms and take to the upwards and join them at an upper point, it will become it will get a shape like this, globular shape. It will get a globular shape. So these animals also, this has happened, so that you see underneath you saw tube feet. Now since their arms have come this way, tube feet are now you can see rows like this. In ambulacral groove, either side, two rows in an arm, two rows of tube feet. And you can see clearly in sea urchin. This is how the sea urchin has arisen from the starfish. Right? It is a next group. It is the next group we are going to discuss. They are globular shaped. Spines, lot of spines are coming from the body. Class Echinoidea. So I told you Echinodermata. Echino means spines. Echinoidea has lot of spines. Sea urchin or Echinus is the one you find very commonly on the rocks in the shallow sea water, in the shallow seashore or shallow sea water, in the everywhere, Nigambu, Allawa. If you go and look at the rocks, you can see lot of these creatures, sea urchin, very, very poisonous. They say these spines. What you call this is in Sinhala Muhudu ikiri, right? Sea urchin. A round of flattened body. Some are flattened, right? Some are flattened and live in the bottom of the sea. But there also you can see that these five arms are demarcated. These are nicely shaped. It's like a coin, big coin, big coin. So it is called sand dollar. This is sea urchin, right? No arms, yes, you can't see arms here. Closed ambulacral grooves, tube feet with suckers, they have tube feet. Now, this is a shell. If you remove the spines and the epidermis, you end up with a shell like this. This is the sea urchin shell. I told you in Echinodermata, some have developed very nice endoskeleton. Below the epidermis, you find calcareous spicules have come together to form a shell like this, right, in the sea urchin. So this is the endoskeleton. When you remove the spines and the epidermis, you end up with a structure like this. You find a structure like this. This is the skeleton of sea urchin, right? Sand dollars are the flattened forms you can see on the bottom of the sea they live, right? And this group is Echinoidea. The next group is Mudukekiri, Holothuridia, sea cucumbers. Now this group, Muduikiri, this group, Mudukekiri, sea cucumbers. How has that derived? You see, this is the sea urchin. If you elongate this sea urchin in this direction, mouth, anus. So this is the mouth of the starfish. This is the anus of the starfish. And we elongated, we bent the arms and elongated this creature. So the anus come here, mouth come here. Now in this mouth anus axis, if you elongate this animal, you find a long animal like this. And since it is not balanced now, it just drop on the surface or the substratum or the sea floor and live horizontally. So the mouth goes to one end, anus goes to the other end. These are the creatures live on the sea bottom, beautiful animals, and they are called sea cucumbers. Sea cucumbers. This class is called class Holothuria. So in the class Holothuria, you find sea cucumbers. Sea cucumbers, cylindrical, elongated body, no arms, no spines, no arms, so no spines. Sometimes in some animals, you find spines like structures. No ambulacral grooves, tube feet with suckers. They have tube feet with suckers, so they can move on. They are moving using the tube feet. They move, right? Under surface, the tube feet are very well developed under surface. So they are moving on the sea bottom, on the rocks, they use in these tube feet. These are beautiful animals, and they are very famous food in countries like Japan and China. We export, I think, sea cucumbers, right? So this comes under the class Holothuria. And the next group is the final group I'm going to talk on uh, under the phylum Echinodermata. Now here what has happened is the sea star, the starfish, if you turn them upside down, 180 degrees rotate, that means upside down, the mouth come to the upper surface and anus goes to the down surface, lower surface. But here they have taken the anus also to the upper surface. So both the mouth and anus are on the same upper surface. So it's like this, they are called feather stars, and their arms are branched. These arms are branched. You can see the arms are branched. So if you count the number of branches here, it will be multiply a number, multiplication of number 5, because they are pentaradial symmetry they have. So because these each arms, they are called feather stars. And if you make a stalk here, it can attach. Sometimes they develop a stalk, and they are called sea lilies. You can see the stalk and the arms here. Now you can see the mouth surface is upper because we turn them upside down. So the tube feet and the ambulacral grooves are in the upper surface. Using the tube feet, they catch the food particles and send them to the central disc mouth, right? That is how in all these arms, lot of tube feet have come out, and they catch the food and send towards the mouth. That is how they feed. And if you look at this class, is called class Crinoidea. In class Crinoidea, you find sea lilies and feather stars. They are flower-like, mouth upwards, stalk in some. See, lilies, you find the stalk. Branched pinnate arms. These arms are branched. You can see they are 5 arms, but they are branched. They are very simply branched from here. And pinnate mean they again branch, like what you call the pollat. If you take pollat, you can see the middle axis and branch like this. So they are like that branch, heavily branched. In all these branches, you find tube feet, but they don't have suckers. They are just used to uh, using ciliary movement. Actually, they send food particles towards the mouth. This group is again very beautiful animals. People may think that these are not animals, these are plants, looks like that, but they are very beautiful. They are animals. In the sea, they are called crinoidea, class crinoidea. That is the last class of the phylum Echinodermata. So final Echinodermata you find exclusively marine. They live only in the sea. You find starfishes, brittle stars, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, and sea lilies and feather stars. So, economic importance of echinoderms. Sea urchin eggs again are a very delicious food in China and Japan, and sea cucumbers are expensive food items. And ornament, they are the starfish and they are kept as ornaments in, and also they are made up of the internal skeleton is made up, endoskeleton is made up of calcium carbonate, so they are a good source of limestone, right? Okay. Then we move on to the last phylum in the animal kingdom. That is the phylum Chordata. We have talked up to now, we have talked about invertebrate phyla. Now we are moving towards the vertebrates, where last phylum is phylum Chordata. 4 major characters, presence of a notochord. This is a basic chordate features are shown. This the typical chordate embryo. This is a typical chordate embryo. All the basic features are of a basic chordate features are shown here. Presence of a notochord. Notochord here is that this reddish color thing, and you can see here the spelling RD code. Code CHORD mean this Pushta Rajju. In Sinhala we call that for that you use CHORD code. And from this code, the name of the phylum has come. So phylum chordata spelling is CHORDATA, chordata, right? 4 major characters. Presence of a notochord. This is called notochord. And dorsal hollow nerve tube, gill slits or pharyngeal slits, post-anal tail. We'll take one by one and see what they are. So again, I said this is a typical embryo of a chordate embryo to show the basic characters. Why I have taken embryo is in many animals, these chordate features can be clearly seen only during the embryonic development, only in the embryo. So that is why even human embryo, you can see all these basic features. Notochord present below the nerve cord. So this blue color thing is the nerve cord. Below that you can find the notochord. Present in all embryonic chordates and in some adult chordates. In some adult chordate also you can find it. Then the next is dorsal hollow nerve cord. So this surface is the upper surface and it is called dorsal surface. In our case, you see our primitive forms. That means we have come from Vanaraya or chimpanzee, and they are walking. This is their what you call pita or the upper surface, and what
Recording in
right.
progress.
Okay, that is the ventral surface. Our dorsal surface is this. Okay. Dorsal hollow nerve cord. So nerve cord is in the dorsal surface. Invertebrates nerve cords are solid. Now, only in the chordata you can find hollow nerve cords, and anterior end is enlarged to form a brain. You can see anterior end of the nerve cord enlarged to form a brain. Gill slits. So this is the digestive cyst tract or the elements, the mouth here, this is the anus here. When you come from the mouth, there are openings to the outside. 5 pairs of gill slits you can sight, 5 in this side, 5 in the other side. These gill slits, many chordates show these only during the embryonic development. These gill slits allow the water taken by the mouth to be expelled without going into the alimentary canal. So these gill slits can still, you can very clearly see in fish. Fish, when they take, why they have this developed actually, when they take food with the water, water can go out. They can expel water out through these gill slits, and they can pass only the food to the digestive system. So this is in the pharynx, the very top, very beginning of the alimentary canal or the digestive system, and so that they can take only the food to the rest of they can send only the food to the rest of the alimentary canal. Excess water all can be expelled out through these gill slits. In fish, what has happened is these gill slits are developed for air exchange. In fish, lot of water is going through these all the time. So this acts as a respiratory surface to take oxygen and to give carbon dioxide to the water. to take oxygen and expel carbon dioxide to the water. So these act as respiratory surfaces, so that we know that in fish we know that fish do respiration through these gills, jalacloma. In Sinhala, we call these gill slits, jalacloma pelum, right? So these are jalacloma pelum. In fish, these gill slits are developed for air exchange. And the next character is the post-anal tail. Post-anal tail is after the anus, there is a tail. That is the post-anal. Now, in the worms also, you can see there is a tail-like region, but it is not after the anus. There, the anus is situated at the tip of the tail. But here in mammals, chordates, you can find after the anus. Even in the fish, you can find after the anus, and even in higher forms, you can, with the tail, you can find in some secondarily the tail is lost in the adult. Now, for example, in humans, it is lost in the adult, right? But in our embryo, there is a small tail after the anus. This is post-anal tail. Now, even in a frog, you can see adult. It is not there, but its larval form, Ischia or the tadpole, has this tail after the anus. So this is a characteristic feature of chordates, and this is called post-anal tail. Okay, those are the four major characteristics of phylum Vertebrata, right? This is the only subphylum we are doing. So it is also called Craniata. Craniata, cranium or the cranium in Latin is skull. In Craniata, in addition to chordate characters, vertebrates have the following special characters. Vertebrate, I mean, they have vertebral column. So now we have a cranium or the hiscabula or skull, and this vertebral column or the cachero. These are the two special characters in vertebrates. We will go one by one. Other characters of vertebrates, briefly, I am going to take you through the vertebrate characters. So in vertebrates, what are the animals we find? We find pisces. Pisces is fishes. And we find amphibia in frogs and salamanders. And then we find reptiles. Reptiles, reptiles. And then when we find aves, aves means class aves mean birds, and we find mammalia, mammals. Under that, mammals comes. So all those groups comes under subphylum Vertebrata: fish, amphibia, reptilia, birds, and mammals. Those are the 5 groups. So we will look at those the basic features they have. They have a skeleton made up of bones and cartilage. Skeleton consists of 2 parts. The skeleton made up of bone and cartilage. And here you get 2 parts. That is the axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. In Sinhala we call Akshaka Sakila and Gatra Sakila. You don't have to go into details, but just to show you, this is 2 colors have been given to the axial skeleton. It is, you can see reddish color, pink color, and blue color. You can see appendicular skeleton. Respiration by lungs or gills. Lungs are characteristic feature to vertebrates. Respiration is by gills in fish and lungs in other. About this terminology in these different terms here. These are just for you to get an idea what is the respiratory system, right? So you know all these things because you have all these things. Your body is made up of these things. So it is okay to remember these things if you wish. I mean, it is good for the general knowledge also, but you can different parts, right? Okay. And then, so in the pharynx, you see the pharynx. Pharynx is here, somewhere here. This is where the fish get pharynx is here. This is the pharynx, right? We get gill slits here. Gill slits, pharyngeal slits, gill slits, jalacloma palum. In our case, they are up slits in our embryo and they are closed. So very soon, I mean, quickly they are formed and closed in our case. But fish, you can still see the slits here, right? In our case, no gill slits here. But in our embryo, gill slits are there, right? Human embryo, you can find them. Okay, and then they have a complete food digestive system starting from anus to mouth, or sorry, mouth to anus, right? Human digestive system, different parts are there. Don't worry too much about these things, but you can have a look. And then blood circular system is a closed system here. In vertebrates, always you find a closed system. It is not open cavities like in arthropods and mollusks, and you found the blood circulatory system was open system there, hemocoel. But here it is a closed system, nicely packed vessels or tubes you find here in the blood system. Excretion is by kidneys, you know, kidneys are there for excretion. Nervous system and sense organs are very well developed. They have very well developed nervous system, and the sense organs are there: eye, ear, nose, tongue, and touch for uh, the all these five senses are well developed. And nervous system composed of two parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. In the central system, we call the central nervous system the brain and the spinal cord. Spinal cord is not labeled here, but you can see the spinal cord. It is going through the vertebral column, brain and the spinal cord, right? Brain, the big part is cerebrum and cerebellum, mastiskia, anumastiskia, likewise. Different parts are there. Don't worry too much about that. Those things at this stage. Here we are just talking about the features in vertebrates, right? And the sexes are separate. This is Samba or Gona. If you take sexes are separate, you find this Antattu you find only in the male, not in the female, right? Horns are found only in males, right? Sexes are separate, male, female. Okay, now we are going to fish class. There are the class Pisces, P-I-C-E-S, P-I-S-C-E-S. Pisces is fishes. Now that again, some textbooks, this class comes as class Chondrichthyes and class Osteichthyes. Cartilage matsyan saha astika matsyan, right? Chondrichthyes is cartilage fishes and Osteichthyes is bony fishes. So I have now I am teaching you under two classes the fish. Class Chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes are cartilage fishes. You find sharks and skates here. They are the bones are made up of cartilage. No bone, sorry, not bones. Skeleton system is made up of cartilages. No bones are there. That is why this skeleton you can chew and eat. Hapala kanda puluang me skates and skates mean madua, sharks mean mora and madua fish. You can eat or the skeletal system also because they are not hard, because it is cartilage, right? So you find sharks and skates here and their skeleton is cartilaginous. And you find another very peculiar character here. The gill slits are not covered, they are open. So in the fish market, if you look at the shark or the mora, you can see these gill slits very clearly. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very clearly you can see 5 gill slits here. Even in skates, madua, if you put to the other side, this is the dorsal side and the ventral side. If you look at the ventral side, you can identify 5 pairs of gill slits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this side also you find 5, right? Sometimes it can go up to 7, but 5. Right? You can identify these 5 to 7 slits, right? 5 to 7 pairs of slits in either side. These are the gill slits. They are gill slits. In skate, what has happened is normally in fish, the body is laterally compressed. But in skates, the body is dorsoventrally compressed. Dorsoventrally compressed මේ body එක chopper වෙලා තියෙනවා උඩ යට අක්ෂය හරහා. When that happens, this becomes flat. So it is an adaptation to live in the bottom. It can bear big because when you go to the bottom, pressure is very high. So this kind of structure can cope up with the high pressure. That is why. So these skates are specialized to live in the bottom, sea bottom, right? So you get 5 pairs of gill slits opening there. So this is a special feature in cartilaginous fish or chondrichthyes, class chondrichthyes. Next is class osteichthyes. Osteichthyes mean bony fish. Skeletal system is completely or partially ossified. Partially ossified mean even this one you find some cartilage. Even in the chicken, when you eat, you can eat some parts of the skeleton because it is cartilage. Even in our body, cartilage is still there. Bones have replaced most of the skeletal system, but cartilage is still there. So that's why skeletal system is completely or partially ossified. Gill slits are covered by an operculum. Now in bony fishes or the members of the class Osteichthyes, you can't find open gill slits. Instead of that, you find a operculum. We call it in Sinhala Pidana, operculum. It covers all the gill slits. So this is the special feature in the Osteichthyes or bony fishes. Next class is class Amphibia. We call it class Amphibia because amphi mean in Latin both or two means, right? Because they can live both in water and on the land. So live in both land and water. So that is why we call Ubhaya Jeevi. Ubhaya mean both, right? So they both live both land and water. Many have an aquatic tadpole larva and migrate to land for the adult life. But there are Diagemba live in the water, but Godagemba, the aquatic, the larval life is aquatic. Here that is the important thing. Larval life, this Gembo all the time, they go to water for breathing. Bittara දාන්නේ වතුරේ. So that they live. But there are extreme cases in terrestrial forms live on tree frogs. There are special type of tree frogs where they make a big secretion, a water secretion and lay eggs because they are fully adapted, but still they lay eggs in water and their larvae swim in that water at the tadpole stage, swim in that water. So they need water for the larval development. Tadpole give gills present as the rest because they have gills, external gills. Here you can see in the tadpole, and then they become internal gills, and then finally they become lungs because then the adult frog does not have gills. They have frogs have lungs. So these gill slits only in the larval stage you find gills, right? Gill slits you can still see in the embryo, right? Okay. And this is class Amphibia. Skin has in amphibians, skin has several glands, including slime glands and poison glands. Poisonous gland and slime glands are there. The skin does not have any external structures like scales, feathers, or hairs. In fish and reptilia, you find scales. In birds, you find feathers. In mammals, you find hairs. But in amphibia, you don't find any of those structures. So it is different in that sense from the other vertebrate groups. Heart consists of 3 chambers. 2 auricles and 1 ventricle. So this is again another feature of amphibians. You find in our case, there are 4 chambers. Our heart is 4-chambered heart, 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. But here you find only 1 ventricle. This ventricle is not divided into 2, right? So it is called a 3-chambered heart. Amphibia have a 3-chambered heart. Skeleton is mainly a bone structure. Next class is class Reptilia. The biggest evolutionary leap from amphibians to reptiles, there is a big evolutionary leap from amphibians to reptiles. What is it? That is the animals now have come from water to land. They have now learned to live without water. Now in amphibia, I told you they can't live without water because for the larval development, the development of the small ones, they need water. But reptiles, they don't want water. Their larval development does not. They don't have a larval. Small ones aren't. They don't need to. They don't need water for their development because they have eggs, very specialized eggs called cleidoic eggs, where they create a water environment for the young ones. We will see. Reptiles show several characters as adaptations to terrestrial life. So this is the big evolutionary step from water to the land. So water to the land, when they completely come to land, they should learn or they should have strategies for the development of the young one. Young one is a problem because frogs also, adult can come to the land, but young one still need water for development. Here reptiles, they don't want water because the last one, if you look at here, eggs with amnion, they have amnion in the eggs. These are called cleidoic eggs. Cleidoic eggs, they are very well adapted. These eggs make a water bag around the developing embryo. So embryo can develop in a watery environment inside the water bag. There is a membrane around the developing the embryo that is called amnion, and it is a water bag. Developing embryo is protected by amniotic fluid and the outermost eggshell. Okay. Reptiles show several characters as adaptations to a terrestrial life. Dry keratinized skin with scales or plates to prevent water loss. You must have seen reptiles, snakes, they have scales, and the like tortoise or the turtle, they have plates. So that is for preventing water loss. Respiration is by lungs. So these eggs are the special feature here. Cleidoic eggs. This is a big cleidoic egg. You can see the egg, right? These eggs you find in reptiles and also in birds, right? So that they don't have to go to the water for their the embryo development or the to develop young ones. They develop inside the water bag. Here, this is the embryo, and around the embryo you find the amnion, and you around the between the embryo and amnion, this amniotic membrane and the embryo, there is a fluid filled environment, amniotic fluid. Now, even in our case, in humans also, inside the mother's womb, we have around our embryo, there is a amnion here, amniotic membrane, and there is a water bag. This water bag is so that the young ones develop inside the water bag. Still, we have that evolutionary trend. The embryo cannot develop without water. Okay. Now, in this cleidoic egg, all the other things are supplied. You find lot of yolk even in the kukulbittare, that kahamade or this completely yolk, right? Lot of nutrients, and it gives full nutrients to the developing embryo. And there is another bag developing here that is to collect waste products, right? And that is called allantois. Okay, don't worry about these things now. I mean, too much. I'm just trying to show you the shape of the structure of egg. because all the basic things are here. Earlier they fed on the things in the water. Now there is a special food package inside the egg. Earlier they expelled all their nitrogenous excretory products to the water. Now they have a special bag for that. Otherwise it will be poisonous for the developing embryo. That is why they put it to a special bag here, an embryo. So this is the clydoic egg. Then we go to the class. Next class is class Aves, that is birds, the only living group with feathers. This is the only living group with feathers, the only vertebrate group which can fly, except bats. Bats also can fly, but they are mammalians. They are mammals, right? These birds can fly. In the flying bird, you can see for the flying muscles, for the flying muscle attachment, you can see a keel. Now, this bone is called the sternum. This bone is a sternum. We call in Sinhala, I think it is Uratalaya, right? Now, Uratalaya, it forms a keel. Now, when you eat chicken in the breast, you can find uh, this in the middle. You can find this structure. All the muscles are attached to this structure. All these are flying muscles. Using these flying muscles, there are four wings are formed using the four limbs. Purvagatra, or four limbs, are adapted to make these wings, right? They are forming wings. So wing muscles attached to this Uratalaya, the keels of the sternum coming from the sternum. Sternum extended to form a keel provides surface for flying muscles. Now the nice thing is there are two types of birds, flying birds and ratite birds. Ratite birds, though you may not need to remember these words, but simply speaking, flying birds and walking birds. We will say it like that, flying birds and walking birds. In walking birds, example is Pespera, ostrich. Ostrich is Pespera. You find Pespera, must have seen in the zoo, right? They don't fly. Their wings are not developed, and they don't fly. Since they don't fly, they don't have big flying muscles. Because they don't have these flying muscles, there is no keel developed in them. Here the sternum does not have a keel like this. In chicken, they are adapted for flying. They have a very clear keel, right? Okay. Sternum extended to form a keel provides surface for flying muscles. Flying muscle attachment actually provides surface for flying muscle attachment. Heart with four chambers. Now the heart has four chambers. Mammal bird heart, you find right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. All mammals and birds have a four-chambered heart. Okay, right. Then we go to the last class, that is the class Mammalia. Mamma in Latin means milk. Mamma is milk. So Shirapai we call in singular. Shirapai. Shira is mamma, right? Range and diversity of body size and form in mammals. You find a lot of huge range. This is actual size proportion they have drawn it. And this is the size of the blue whale. That is the biggest mammal, right? Blue whale. And this is the size of the elephant. You can see compared to the blue whale, elephant is a small one. Compared to the elephant and same size the hippopotamus and tigers and then monkeys and kangaroos, and you can see here a very small mouse. So the body size can vary from mouse to blue whale. Characteristic features, I will tell you a few characters of mammals. Presence of mammary gland. Mammary gland means Shira Granthi, right? Young ones are fed on milk secreted by these glands. Presence of hairs. In mammals, you find hairs. In few, hairs are seen only in young stages. For example, in the whale, blue whale, you can't find hairs in the adults. Only in young ones you find hairs. Presence of a diaphragm separating the thorax and abdomen. You know, in between our urakuhare and uraskuhare, we call uh, thorax and abdomen. You find a diaphragm. It is in Sinhala, it is called Mahaprachiraya. So it is it's a kind of a septum. It's like a septum between the thoracic and abdominal cavities. Two cavities are separated through this diaphragm. And lower jaw is composed of a single bone. In other animals, in other classes, for example, reptiles or amphibians, this lower jaw is composed of several bones. But here, we in mammals, only one bone called dentary. This bone is called dentary. This lower jaw is composed of a single bone called dentary, which directly connects with the skull. It directly connects to the skull. Middle ear has three bones. Now, this is a characteristic feature of mammals. That is why I am telling you, just remember that middle ear has three bones. That is again a characteristic feature. In Sinhala, we call Dharanakaya, Nighati, and Mudgarikava. But in English, we call Malleus, Incus, and Stapes. Malleus, Incus, and Stapes. Here, this is the ear, right? This is the Campetta or pinna. And then when you go inside, you find the Camberea, and this is the tympanic membrane, eardrum, or Camberea we call tympanic membrane. And when the sound comes and vibrate this tympanic membrane, these vibrations are passed to the inner ear through three very short pieces of bones. That is what this means. Middle ear has three bones. This is the first bone is malleus, and then it passed the message to the next bone incus, and it passed to the last third one stapes. Vibrations are passed. That passed to the inner ear. Right? Don't worry about too much about this part of the inner ear. So this is how the message is passed through the vibrations are passed from the Canberra or the tympanic membrane or the eardrum to the inner ear, right? Through three bones, has three bones. Okay, when you look at the denture, right? You know what is the this dental structure. When you find these are diphlodonts. Donts mean dental, right? That diplo mean two times. Diplo, di mean two. No? So diplodontry is represented by two generations of functional teeth during a human life. For example, we have Kiridat and permanent dat. Kiridat, that is the first type. Two generations of functional teeth. 20 deciduous or milk or lacteal teeth and 32 permanent teeth, right? So these two types of teeth, diphlodonts and many are heterodonts. Heterodonts mean different teeth types. We use the other word homodont. In fish, if you look at the dentary, their teeth are similar. That is called homodont. Heterodont mean Vishamadanti. We have incisors, canines, premolar, and molar, premolar and molar, and their shapes are different. So that is called heterodonts. Diphlodont means Dvaradanti. That means teeth come in two occasions in many, right? And also another characteristic feature is red blood cells have no nuclei. Red blood cells have no nuclei. It is also a characteristic feature in frogs. If you look at other vertebrates, they have nuclei. But our red blood cells, mammals, you don't find nuclei, our red blood cells, right? So this is the top view of our red blood cells. It is a disc shape, right? And lateral view is, side view is this, right? No nucleus there. Types of mammals, if you look at types of mammals, there are three types. Monotremes lay eggs instead of giving birth to young ones. Example, duckbill platypus. This is a small hairy animal live in Australia in near ponds, and they have a beak-like thing coming up like a duck bill. Duck bill mean tarawage hota like structure here. That is why it is platypus. They lay eggs. They are mammals but lay eggs. And then kangaroo. They don't lay eggs. They give birth to young ones, but the young ones are not fully matured when they come out. Therefore, they are kept in the sac. They are kept in a special sac in the abdomen. Marsupials, they are called marsupials, give birth to partially developed young ones, have an abdominal pouch to carry young ones. Example, kangaroo. Then placental mammals. In placental mammals, young ones are nourished before the birth in the mother's uterus through a placenta. In our case, we are placentas, right? There are placenta. Many mammals are placental mammals. A specialized embryonic organ attached to the uterus wall. Example, mouse. I have given here a cat. I'm sorry for that. That's okay. Cat's also a placental mammal. So these are mammals. All these three types you find in mammals. Now actually we have come to the end of the phylum Chordata, and this is the end of the phylum this is the end of the animal kingdom. I have done so far the diversity of the animal kingdom. You could see how these animals are very, very diverse group. It is not easy to cover this whole group within 2 or 3 lectures, but I have tried my maximum best. And without going into detail, you know what different animal types are there in the world. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, did you understand what I said? If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Are there any questions? Yes or no? Or did you understand? No, no questions. Okay, then I'm going to, okay, if it is clear, that's fine. And Miss Ruanti will take some, again, the teaching, will put some teaching material for you to understand more clearly. And thank you very much for listening. Okay, I am going to finish this session.
Recording stopped.